Hi guys, so we're back with the second lesson for this week. It's called 5.4b, adding and subtracting rational expressions with unlike bases or a non-common denominator. So this time we have to find a common denominator before we add or subtract them. A little harder to do. We still have some rules again, so here we go. Or some steps, however you want to put it together. So the first thing we want to do is find a common denominator. That's the most important thing. We need to find a common denominator. Okay? Whatever that may be. Second, rewrite the common denominator, rewrite the fractions using the common denominator. See, I can't even read. And adjust each numerator to reflect the change in the denominators. Okay, so that means we're going to basically multiply the numerator by what the denominator is missing to make it a common denominator, which is totally confusing. As I say that, I understand that. That's why we're going to show you some examples in just one moment. The third step is just kind of like what we were doing last time when it has a common denominator, because once it has a common denominator, we're doing exactly what it did last time. Just add or subtract the numerators and keep the denominator the same. Okay? And then, of course, the last and final step is simplify if needed. Sometimes when they don't have a common denominator, I can't even speak today. When they don't have a common denominator, they don't simplify very easily. Just to let you know, we might not need to simplify as much on these ones, but be aware of that you do need to check to make sure if you need to simplify or not. So we're going to do two examples. If you notice right up here, there's 4 examples. I'm going to go ahead and do these examples with the video that they go with instead of doing all 4 of them to start with. So we're going to do the first 2 examples right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the denominators. My denominators are 3 and 2, and I need to find a number that they both go into. Okay, what number does both 3? I honestly want to find the smallest number that they both go into. So the smallest number that they both go into is 6. So my common denominator is going to be 6. And this is what I tell myself. This is how I do it. I say, what do I multiply 3 by to get 6? Well, I multiply it by 2. And if I multiply the denominator by 2, I also have to multiply the numerator by 2. So basically, I'm multiplying by 1. Do you see that? 2 over 2 is 1. So I'm not changing the fraction. I'm not changing the value of the fraction. I'm just changing how it looks. And then what do I multiply 2 by to get 6? Well, I multiply by 3, and I'm going to do the same thing. If I multiply the bottom by 3, I want to multiply the top by 3. So I'm not changing the value of that fraction. I'm just changing how it looks. So here we go. 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6. So there's my common denominator. 2 times x is 2x. And then the other thing I needed to pay attention to is, am I adding or subtracting? Well, in this case, I am adding. So I have 2x plus 3x. Okay, and then if I add them together, I get 5x over 6, and there's nothing to simplify, so I am done with that problem. Totally done. Finished. So if it's a whole number, it's fairly simple. So now we're going to move it over to the next one. We're going to look at a few things first. Well, what type of problem am I doing? Well, it's a subtraction, so I'm subtracting this time. And what are my denominators? Well, my denominator is 6 and 30. Okay, great. So what numbers does both 6 and 30 go into? Well, 30. So I think my common denominator is going to be, I'm going to write it, I'm going to write it down here. So my common denominator is going to be 30. That's great. So what do I multiply 6 by to get 30? Well, that would be 5. And 5 on the top, 5 over 5. And what do I multiply 30 by to get 30? Well, 1. And I'm going to put in the 1 so you can see that I'm doing it correctly. I just want to show you that I'm multiplying by 1 also. So that means in my numerator, I'm going to do 5 times a plus 10 minus 1 times 2a minus 1. So that's what my numerator becomes. And my denominator, 5 times 6 is 30, so I have 30 in both my denominators. So my common denominator is 30. So now I'm just going to work out my numerator. So 5 times a is 5a, and 5 times 10 is 50. And then negative 1 times 2a is negative 2a, and negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. And then divided by 30. Combine my like terms, and I get 3a over plus 51 all over 30. Now I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to factor, and I believe that 3 goes into 51 17 times, but I'm just going to check on my calculator. Yep. So I can factor out a 3 in my numerator. So I've got 3 becomes a plus 17 divided by 30. And then I know 3 goes into 3 one time and into 30 10 times. So my answer is going to be a plus 17 all divided by 10. Okay, so that's example 1 and 2. And now we're going to go down to problem 1. And we're going to work through some of these problems. I think we're going to do 1 through 6 in this first video. So here we go. So I know it's a subtraction problem, and I need to find my common denominator. Well, they both have a p, so we're good there. I need to know, now we just need to look at the number. So what goes into both, what does both 5 and 15 go into? Well, 15, great. So my common denominator has to be 15p. So what do I multiply 5p by to get 15p? Well, 3, good. So I'm going to multiply that by 3 over 3. And what do I multiply 15p by to get 15p? Well, 1. And 1 over 1 times. Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to do our numerator. So 3 times 4 is 12. Minus 7 times 1 is 7. And that is going to equal 12 minus 7 is 5 over 15p. And then I can simplify, and I say 5 goes into 5 once, and 5 goes into 15 3 times. So I get 1 over 3p. Okay, beautiful. So I also want to show you one other way to do this. I just kind of want to show a different way to kind of think about this problem also, and I'm going to do the same problem. Since I only have one fraction equaling one other fraction, I might have to simplify more at the end, but I still think it's a viable way you guys can do this. So to get my common denominator, I'm just going to multiply these two together. Okay, so 15 times 5. I'm going to have to get out my calculator, you guys, because I've already made a few mistakes, so I don't want to make any more. So that's 75p squared. And then I'm going to multiply this times this. So 4 times 15 gives me 60p minus 5p times 7, 35p. Okay, so now I'm going to do 60 minus 35. Ooh, that is so not right. Minus 35 is 25p over 75p squared. Now I'm going to simplify that, okay? So what goes, 25 goes into 25 one time and into 75. How many quarters in 75 cents? Well, 3. I have 1 p on top and 2 p's in the denominator. So I get 1 over 3p. Same answer, 2 different ways to get there. I do not care which way you get there. As long as you get to the right answer, does not bother me which way you get there. So I just want to point that out, okay? So there's another way to think about it. And I don't know which way I'm going to do it. I might do one way and one the next way and just kind of flip back and forth. So just be prepared for me to do them kind of both ways. I'm not going to do all of them both ways, but I might just kind of do one way and one another way. So Here I'm going to look at what my common denominator is between 4c and 2c. Well, that's going to be 4c because I know that 2 times 2 is 4. So if I multiply the bottom, just this fraction by 2, and I know that this is an add sign, so I'm adding my fractions. So what do I multiply 4c by to get 4c? Well, it's already a 4c, so I don't need to do anything or multiply by 1. So 9 times 1 is 9. Plus 3 times 2 is 6. So I get, let's see, that should be 15 over 4c. Yep, beautiful. Okay, there you go for number 2. Pretty easy. So here we go. This one's a little harder. And I can't do the second method with this one. So I'm going to find out what number does 2, 5, and 6 all go into. Well, 30. So that's going to be my common denominator. What do I multiply 2 by to get 30? 15. So times 15. What do I multiply 5 by to get 30? Well, 6. And what do I multiply 6 by to get 30? Well, 5. And I did forget to say, look, these are all subtraction problems. So 15 times y is 15y. 6 times y is 6y. And 5 times y is 5y. And I'm subtracting all that. So 15 minus 6 is 9. And 9 minus 5 is 4, so I should have 4y on top and 30 in my denominator. And then, let's see, divide by 2 will give me 2 and 15. So that should be 2y divided by 15. And there you go. Good job. I'm so sorry. We have another same type of situation, only this time we've got a subtract and a plus, so we're doing both. What's my common denominator between 4, 5, and 10? Well, 20. What do I multiply 5 by to get 20? Well, 4. And what do I multiply 4 by to get 20? Well, 5. And what do I multiply 10 by to get 20? Well, 2. So I get 4 times 9 is 4 times 36. Is that right? Yeah, 36. 36x minus 5 times 3 is 15x plus 2 times 7 is 14x. So I think this is going to be 35x over 20, because negative 15 plus 14 is negative 1, plus 36 is 35. Great. So 5 goes into both of them. 5 goes into here 7, and 5 goes into here 4. So that should be 7x over 4. Good job. Okay. So I didn't have a choice really to do it the other way, because I could have done it, well, I can't say that. I could have done it the other way and did 2 fractions at the same time. A little longer. Now this one I'm gonna do the other way because I only have 2 fractions. So here we go. So the first thing I'm gonna do is multiply these together and get a denominator. And my denominator is going to be 18. Okay? And then I'm going to multiply these together. Always start with the upper left. And so I get 6 times y minus 2. And then this is an addition problem. So I'm going to say plus. And then I've got this times this. So plus 3 times y plus 1. Okay, so we get 6 times y and 6 times negative 2, so that's 6y minus 12 plus 3y plus 3 all over 18. So if I add my like terms, 6y plus 3y is 9y, and negative 12 plus 3 is negative 9 over 18. Factor out a 9 in my numerator, y minus 1 over 18. 9 goes into 9 once and into 18 2 times. So I get y minus 1 over 2. And there you go. Okay? Boom. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with this one, only have some bigger numbers. Okay, so let me get out my calculator here. So equals, let's see, 12 times 16, 192. So I'm going to multiply those together. And I get 192. Okay, and then I notice that this is a subtraction problem, so I'm gonna multiply these together, starting with your upper left side. So I get 16 times 5n plus 9 minus this side, which is 12 times 2n plus 8. So if I multiply that out, 16 times 5 is 80n plus 16 times 9. 16 times 9, I'm just checking. So 144 minus 24n minus 12 times 8 is 96. All over 192. So 80 minus 24. 80 minus 24 is 56n. And then 144 minus 96. Clear. 144. I hate using my phone as a calculator. (144) minus 96, 48. All over 192. Now I need to simplify this, and I need to find out what goes into 56 and 48. I think it's 8. I think 8 goes into 56 and 40. Let's see. 56 divided by 8, 7. 48 divided by 8 is 6. Yep. So 8 goes in there. So it'll be 7n plus 6. 192. I bet 8 goes into 192. 24 times. So 8 goes into 8 one time, into 192 24 times. So my answer is 7n plus 6 all over 24. Okay, so that one was a little harder, but there you go. So we'll go ahead and let you do some of the work, and we'll see you back in a little bit.